coming up with ideas is one of those things that we think we're really good at, but when the push comes to shove, it can be really hard to get those ideas out. I like to put a few rules around how we come up with ideas, and of course there's a silly designer name for it called ideation. Basically what we want to do is get lots and lots of ideas on the table and then come up with what might be the best idea. Remembering our mantra here that the first idea is often the worst idea. It can take a little bit of time and energy here, but it's a lot of fun and it can double as a really nice team building exercise. So let me give you some ways in which you might utilize this or you might set this up. First, I'm going to start with how you might set this up as a whole staff or a really big group of people. You need to have people in smaller groups because otherwise you find that people aren't brave enough to put their ideas on the table. Have one big kind of question, a how might we question, and that's a really nice, clear way of getting everybody aligned. So for a how might we question, how might we make the workplace more fun? How might we make school a better place to be? Let's start with the workplace more fun. This way you can put on either a 5-minute timer or put on a song, put on a really happy bouncy song and get everybody up on their feet. The best tool that you can use here are our handy post-it notes. These post-it notes have got the ability to have one idea per note. People can write them down really quickly and they can slam them down. That's a way that you might do this in a big group. If you're in a smaller group, I really recommend you having a nice big space, perhaps even a wall, and again, everybody having a set of post-it notes. I'd set a smaller group a challenge. Let's say it's your leadership team. Again, have your nice clear how might we question, but maybe you might say, we're not going to stop until we come up with 50 ideas. That sounds like a lot of ideas, but once we get those rules in place, which I'll show you in a moment, you can get there really quickly. In fact, I worked with an awesome team this year from the Royal Botanic Gardens, Victoria. And we actually even did this online using a tool called Miro, which is a little bit like an online whiteboard, and they've got online sticky notes as well. We set a nice big how might we question, and we actually said, let's not stop coming up with ideas until we get to 100. It took a team of 6, 20 minutes to get to 150 ideas. It was a really great way of showing that capacity of creative thinking, building that creative muscle, and of course impressing each other with the sorts of ideas that we can come up with as well. So for a small team, set a nice big open space and set a nice big challenge that might not be time-based, but might be quantity-based instead. And if it's just you coming up with these ideas, set yourself a similar challenge, but what I would do is actually blend the two. I would say in 5 minutes, I'm going to challenge myself to come up with 20 ideas to unlock this kind of challenge that's in my head. It might be something about the ways of working. It might be something about your motivations. It's always better to work with more than one person when you're coming up with ideas so that you can have that bounce and play, but it's a really great thing to do to set different challenges and protocols as well. So no matter if you're working in a big team, a small team, or a really, really tiny team, maybe just you and a friend, or maybe just you on your own, there's 3 rules that I've come up with for coming up with ideas. These are mushed together from some work that I've done in the past with some great organisations, some really great books that I have read, and some teams that I've worked with, and of course just doing this over and over and trying to simplify these rules for teams. This is what I call the ABC of coming up with ideas. The first thing that you would note is that we're looking for all ideas and a lot of ideas. This means quantity over quality to start with. We really need to make sure that we are getting to lots and lots of ideas because that's where the gold is. We can in fact then start to merge ideas together to come up with our one super idea. So the A, all and a lot. Our second one is build and bounce. We want to be working with others really when we're doing this, but it's also great, even if we're working alone, we want to build on the ideas that have come before. Improv is a really great thing that we lend from here. Yes, and. We don't want to be using no, but. In fact, we want to be able to park that negative altogether. To be able to bounce and build means that we can get to that quantity of ideas much, much quicker as well. It should be a really nice optimistic process. So make sure we're using the yes and often. It really helps that process of coming together with some great ideas. And our third C is crazy and courageous. This is where we're looking for all of the things that you probably wouldn't normally put pen to paper with. Think of those outrageous things like the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, where they have in their outpatient ward a whole display of meerkats. I'd love to see the process that they came to that said that's the greatest idea. But it took someone who had courage to say, what might it look like if we put animals in a hospital? These are the sorts of cool and courageous things that not only get us to a great space with the ideas that we're getting to and the problem that we're trying to solve, but it also builds our creative confidence as well. So again, we're looking for the crazy ideas and courageous. You can help your team members by really watching your body language and really watching your tone when you're accepting those ideas as well, making sure all ideas are welcome. So as a recap, the ABC of coming up with ideas, all and a lot. We want bounce and build. And for C, crazy and courageous. Once you've come up with all of your ideas, it's kind of one of those things where you think, okay, we now have 120 ideas in the case of the Royal Botanic Gardens awesome team. But we can do anything, but not everything. The way that I like to take those ideas and then really slingshot them into action is by using a simple filtering canvas. We've got one here that gives you the example of how it's just a really simple axis of high resource to low resource, high impact to low impact. What we're looking for here is to start to cull some of those ideas down. A second mantra for you, apart from first idea, worst idea, is simply this. There's a time and a place for critiquing ideas, but it's not when you're coming up with them. It's now, when you're starting to filter them. So let's say we look at the how might we make our workplace more engaging? Let's say we've come up with 120 ideas, we're working in a small team, we've had lots of fun, we're on our feet here. And now is the time for us to really lean into our professional judgment. I'm going to have a look at the two ideas that I put on the table here. One is let's get an office cat, and the second one here is let's take dogs to work. So what we would do is we would have all of our ideas around, and we would, as the person that has come up with that idea, start to put that on a filtering canvas and of course ask for some support. So to get an office cat, it feels to me like it is a high resource because somebody is going to have to be looking after that cat. We're going to have to get some particular cat products in the office. It's going to have a low impact because, you know, who really likes cats anyway, right? But taking our dogs to work, so much research, around this. So let's put this up in high impact because everybody loves dogs at work. Everybody is taking their dogs back home with them, so it's not much resource for the office. Really high impact in terms of workplace productivity, more people likely to come to work if there's more dogs, and of course we know that it's really, really great for people's mental health as well. So we had a little bit of fun there. If you follow me across the socials, you know I'm very much a dog person, so I will always stand up for dogs in the workplace. But what I've really tried to show you here is you do need to stand up for your ideas. If you come up with ideas, be prepared to back them up as well. It shouldn't stop you from having crazy ones. It shouldn't stop you from letting them go either. Hold on to your ideas lightly, but the impact that you want to make tightly. It's a really great way of filtering things down, and of course you can always go back to those other ideas as well, or maybe you like to put two ideas together. So in our place, we might have found when we were filtering that we can take dogs and cats to work, but we wouldn't just adopt one for our workplace. You see, this is a really great way for us to really build those connections across teams as well. Now, practically, I would probably give an hour if we're working in a smaller team to do this, perhaps even a little bit longer if the idea filtering seems to be generating some great conversation. In a bigger group, I might even shorten that to 45 minutes so that they really get on task and on plan. You don't want this to become too much of a chat fest. We need to kind of work quickly and back ourselves and back our ideas and our concepts. There's a little bit more filtering that we can do along the way as well, and I'll be sure to put some of those canvases up for you too. The biggest thing here is that we want to really refine down, hone and refine down here. So if you're working just in a really small group or on your own as well here, you do want to be thinking about, am I just falling in love with this idea because it's my idea, or am I falling in love with it because I can see it actually solving the problem that we have identified? So make sure you keep your eyes on the prize there.